Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host Paul, aka your friendly neighbourhood spoiler man, and we have a hell of a lot to talk about. Over the last week we've heard lots of rumours and reports about what's going to be coming in the future of the MCU. There's tons of things to talk about, including the changes for Avengers 5, and also how I think the Fantastic Four might be playing into it. Now I also want to talk about the recent updates with Deadpool and Wolverine, and then later on go into how this ties in with Doctor Doom. This last week though, the internet's been awash with rumours that Henry Cavill's going to be featuring in the Marvel Universe. According to the rumours, he's actually going to be playing Wolverine, and a number of different scoopers have seemingly backed this up. Daniel RPK's reported they're also bringing in a new concept to the multiverse, and this in itself will centre around Nexus beings. You see, we're now going to learn that in every universe has one specific hero, and if they die or get removed from that universe, then that universe starts to vanish. Daniel then clarified that each universe has a different hero, and over time the world starts to decay if they're removed from it. From what I've been told, Deadpool's going to be recruiting a super team, and I'm guessing this involves several Wolverines. If the rumours are true, then that could include Henry Cavill, and maybe even usher him taking over the reins. Hugh Jackman is 55 at the moment, and though I hope I look as good as he does at that age, you look bloody great, Hugh, if you're watching this. I don't think you are, but you look great if you are. I think, though, that people can't expect him to be doing this for, like, another 10 or 15 years. So I think getting someone else in would be great, especially someone like Henry, as he has kind of been brushed to the side recently and deserves a big role. I've also heard that the patch version we see in the trailer might indeed be played by Daniel Radcliffe. In the teaser trailer, we only see his back, and this guy doesn't really have the same body shape as Jackman does. So I do think that the rumours and leaks have some credence to them, and that this will also be a building block that leads into Secret Wars. Also, yeah, forgot to beg you to hit the thumbs up and subscribe, mate, but I just want to let you know, we've launched some merch with a brand new retailer. Got loads of new t-shirt designs right below the video, including a Me and the Boys one for that upcoming show. There's an all-connected one, if you love Marvel as well, and huge thank you to everyone who's picked one up. Now if you cast your mind back to last month, mate, all the way back to Valentine's Day, not only was it a big day for you crying into your pillow, but it was also the release of Madame the Fantastic Four First Look. This seemingly confirmed earlier reports that this was going to be a film set in the 1960s. In the image we had Marvel's first family confirming the cast of the Fantastic Four, finally! Amongst them was Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards, Vanessa Kirby as Sue, Ebba Moss-Barack as The Thing, and Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm. Firstly, the logo had a classic 60s style with a Marvel Studios text referencing the Cinerama logo. This opened during 1963, and we could also catch Ben Grimm reading the Life magazine from December of the same year. This had President Lyndon Johnson on the front cover, and we could also catch a picture of Ben before he was transformed. This showed him in a 60s style astronaut suit, and we also had this line from Multiverse of Madness.
Hello, Stephen.
Fantastic Four. Didn't you guys chart in the 60s?
I'm sorry, is this a joke?
Man first travelled into space during 1961, and the Fantastic Four were likely dabbling in this. We can see on his helmet there's the iconic four as well, and my guess is that they were working alongside NASA. Lastly, we have Herbie, who originally debuted in the 70s, and it was the last Marvel creation thought up by Jack Kirby. Herbie stands for Humanoid Experimental Robot B-Type Integrated Electronics, gotta love those acronyms, and Daniel RPK reported that they're looking for a comedian to voice the role. We don't know whether this is a man or a woman, but their goal originally was being used to help find Galactus. There have been rumours that Javier Bardem's in talks to play him, and I think he would be brilliant to use as a first villain. We've also heard rumblings we'll get a female Silver Surfer, with Anya Taylor-Joy being rumoured to be in the role. The Surfer is of course a herald of Galactus, and both these characters would be amazing additions. However, I also think in this movie that they're gonna set up Doctor Doom, which we'll talk more about later on in the video. Now back to the 60s, Grace Randolph reported a while back that the movie would be set in that decade, and Matt Shakman's hiring makes a lot of sense. He's directed several WandaVision episodes, and some of them were set in the time period. He also was the brains behind Monarch, which too deals with lots of things in the past. Now I actually think it's going to be based around another big film from the decade, which will explain where they've been for all this time. That is Planet of the Apes, and
Boom! Spoiler alert.
for a movie from 1968. Anyway, that has astronauts travelling into space and crash landing on a strange planet ruled by apes. In the end, it turns out it was Earth all along, 'cause you maniacs, you blew it up, you maniacs!
You maniacs! You blew it up!
Now the newer films also reference these astronauts leaving, only to be doomed to return further in the future. Now whether that's expanded on in the upcoming movie, we don't know, but I think the Fantastic Four will have a similar motif. I believe that the Four will be famous and a big family that have had success in a number of different mediums. Lots of stars back in the day, they used to have their own variety shows, and Reed will be someone who's known as the smartest man. Look at him dancing as well. Yeah, he can clearly handle that variety, and he bloody dances in them Fox movies too. Anyway, I think one day they'll embark on a mission into space, and during this time they'll then gain their powers. They'll return to Earth, which is what we get in this first look, but that call to space will just be too much to ignore. Now, I think they'll likely go on a second mission, which is when they'll run into Galactus and realise that they have to warn Earth. Similar to Planets of the Apes though, the time dilation will cause issues, and they'll return decades in the future. I have heard that the movie will take place across 2 time periods, and something like this would allow that to happen. It'll also usher in the arrival of Galactus, and could possibly even deal with the threat from the Eternals. And that takes us into another plot I think they're going to pull from, with that being Jonathan Hickman's run. This happened in the lead up to Secret Wars, and it saw Reed Richards building a multiversal bridge. Reed wanted a way to fix the problems on his Earth, and thus he constructed a machine to look into the multiverse. This allowed him to look into other worlds where they managed to solve the problems that he'd failed to. This included things like Civil War, and basically every issue that had gone badly. And during this he also came across the Council of Reeds, who in themselves had built their own bridges. This was seen as being like an important moment in Reed's life where that version was good enough to go on to the Council. The Council worked together to seemingly fix the multiverse's problems, but in doing this, it came with a cost. The Reeds who joined the Council had to abandon their own family, and it echoed Reed's own father, who too had abandoned him to time travel. Now in exploring the multiverse, they came across a group of evil Celestials and had to defend the multiverse from them. The Celestials decimated the Council, and we could perhaps even have them tackling the threat teased at the end of the Eternals. Now potentially, the Reed in the movie could be someone from an alternate reality who builds a bridge that makes him see the 616. Also, every bloody time I call it the 616, someone kicks off saying it's not that and it's Earth 1999 because of Across the Spider-Verse. Look, mate, I know, man. I think the comics, I think they should just be the 616, but Feige says so. So I don't know if I can keep having this argument for the rest of my life, but we'll just call it Earth Prime from this point in the video. Either way, I feel like we're going to be getting a celestial threat, and this will then tease the arrival of Doctor Doom. And that takes us into Avengers 5, which we now know won't be called Kang Dynasty. According to The Hollywood Reporter, the studio wanted to move away from the character after Quantumania underperformed at the box office. We still have that post-credit scene that teased as Council, and instead I think that Doom might be who they end up switching to. Now all the way back in Wakanda Forever, we had rumours that Doom would be in a post-credit scene. Concept art for this was apparently leaked, but whether it's real or not, we still don't know. However, it has to be said that he was meeting with a character who later turned out to look a hell of a lot like Gravik. Secret Invasion was released shortly after, and it may have been that they wanted to lead from this into that project. Either way, I think Doom arriving would allow them to transition pretty easily, and if we're heading to Secret Wars, it makes sense too. In the comics, we've had 2 versions of the story, with Doom being the main villain in every iteration. I always thought it was weird to have Kang as the bad guy because he's not someone who ever led it in the comics. The second Secret Wars especially revolves around Reed and Doom a lot, with these 2 sides being what drives the central plot. Galactus also shows up in that first one as well, so they may potentially combine the 2 to bring us the ultimate Secret Wars movie. Marvel also clearly thinking about the modern one too, as we had the cover for Secret Wars 5 showing up in the Deadpool and Wolverine trailer. This was something that centered around the death of Doctor Strange, who in Secret Wars was Doom's right-hand man. So what happened, right? Sit tight, mate, because it's going to be a long one. So what happened is that the Illuminati discovered the multiverse was dying, which had been led by incursions happening across the multiverse. They kept this a secret and started putting things in place to help to destroy other realities in order to save their Earth. This was eventually discovered, and it split the Avengers, and Doctor Strange ended up working with Doom. Turned out that Doom had known about this for some time, and that it was all tied in with a man known as Owen Reese. Owen Reese, aka the Molecule Man, was a character who'd been created by the Beyonders. He'd been placed on every single Earth, and to the Beyonders was being used as a bomb. What the Beyonders were planning to do was detonate Reese, and across every reality that Earth would be destroyed. This in turn would then destroy the multiverse, which is something that Doom learned from Owen himself. Thus Doom killed Reese and had set out across the multiverse, attempting to kill every version of the character. Realizing how monumental of a task it was throughout the Infinity though, he ended up creating his own religion. Known as the Black Swans, they believed he was a god and followed him with unwavering loyalty. Throughout the multiverse, they travelled the worlds killing every version of Reese, but in doing so it also set off the incursions. Now in this time, Doom had teamed up with Doctor Strange, and the pair then travelled out to the Beyonders. Doom threw a bomb made of molecule men at them, and it was in this moment that he attained their power. I'd love to see something like this in the upcoming Doctor Strange film, which is rumoured to arrive before we get Secret Wars. Post-credit scene at the end of Multiverse of Madness had him tackling an incursion, and I think it would be a smart way for him to learn of the Swans. We could also have Strange become the MCU's Reese, as we know from the Illuminati that he's a multiversal threat.
From our experience, the greatest danger to the multiverse, it turns out, is Doctor Strange.
He could be someone who exists across all realities that they have to use as a way to stop the Beyonders. Strange's death would also tie in with that Secret Wars issue and bring everything full circle from that. Now, in order to tie stuff up with Kang, I believe that his council should play the part of the Beyonders, and we should see Doom arriving to strip them of their powers. This would then allow him to play the role of the bad guy in the next Avengers, and if they made it Doom War, that would be the perfect way to take it. In case you haven't read the comics, destroying the Beyonders also ended up destroying the multiverse, and then Doom rebuilt the universe from memories of what had come before. However, this wasn't perfect, and thus he built Battleworld, which was basically a combination of several universes and aspects of reality all mushed into one. At the center of it, he ruled as God Emperor Doom and oversaw the kingdoms and realms that he'd created. This, I think, would be perfect to bring to the MCU's Secret Wars, while also remaining loyal to the comics. Again, that cover in the Deadpool trailer just made me think that they're heading towards that. It seemed so weirdly placed in the shot, and the first time watching it, I didn't even catch it. However, it's definitely that, with a soda Stanley drank in the Incredible Hulk lying on the top of it. Now, Deadpool's going to be bringing in the X-Men, and I think that will end with them coming to Earth Prime. There's clearly some scenes that take place in the Void, and I think that world might be wiped out. I think those X-Men will come from the universe we saw at the end of the Marvels, and then it'll lead directly into this. We of course have X-Men 97, and it's been said it's not connected to the MCU. However, I think that this show might be used as a way to show the backstory of the ones we meet in Deadpool, and kind of fill in the blanks of their history. I feel like that universe may be wiped out, with only the heroes who made it to the Void being those that are left. They then could travel into the MCU, which wouldn't cause an incursion due to their world being wiped out. Now, the X-Men are of course a metaphor for prejudice.
We're the X-Men, dated metaphor for racism in the 60s.
But I always wondered, why do the heroes like the Avengers get a pass, whereas the mutants are all hated? I know they dealt with it in the comics, and they basically explained it as being it's because they were born that way. Still though, I don't see why there'd be such hatred for one group, but the others are like you when you've had 3 shandies, and you start telling everyone that they're your best mate, you chump.
See you, chump.
However, if you say they're from another world, you could see why people wouldn't want them to be causing issues on theirs. This arrival of mutants may also spark up the dormant gene within those on Earth, which explains why Ms. Marvel had one in hers.
Like a mutation.
I also have some theories about Spider-Man 4, and I can now officially reveal the movie's title. My auntie works for Sony, and she revealed it along with all the upcoming titles of the brand new trilogy. They're gonna be...
Can you name the 3 Spider-Man Tom Holland movies?
Yeah.
Should I just go on faith?
Yeah.
Oh.
Spider-Man, here he comes.
Here he comes,
That's number 1.
Yep.
Spider-Man, and he's back. And the other one, the last one is the Goblet of Spider-Man.
Need a vacation.
Harry, Spider-Man, and the Goblet of Man.
And we've heard rumours that they're still deciding on what to do with them, potentially wanting to bring Tobey and Andrew back. I think with us heading towards a big clash of the multiverse, that also makes a hell of a lot of sense too. Avengers Endgame was a celebration of the first 10 years of the MCU, but Secret Wars has an opportunity to go far beyond that. That could be used as a celebration of all the Marvel movies as a whole, and bring together several franchises into one. Just going back to Endgame, remember when they travelled back to the battle in New York? That was a big moment, but here they can jump to any single franchise. We could go see Jamie Foxx as Electro and give him a happy birthday, or even see Mr. Dickovich and finally pay off that rent. Lots of things to explore. I want to see Tobey, I want to see Hugh Jackman, and I want to see Robert Downey Jr. back, because Doom, you better remember him as well. Now, you might remember last year we reported that we'd heard these big names were going to be used in Secret Wars. So far, that's been backed up by a number of other scoopers, and we also reported Secret Wars would lead to a soft reboot. The Hollywood Reporter stated that they're viewing it more like a retooling, in which they'll rework and change certain things. They also said that they're looking for someone to fill the void left by Captain America and Iron Man, and I think we need Robert Downey Jr. I think this retooling though could help them resurrect certain characters and potentially recast younger actors in their roles. I think the MCU needs characters like Iron Man, and it's such a shame we never got some of the classic stuff from the comics with Downey because they didn't have the rights. If they don't recast, we're never going to get Tony interacting with Rita outside of what's probably in the multiversal stories. Going back through the MCU, I always thought it was a shame that the rights meant we had to wait over a decade before certain characters could be used. Now the initial characters who established it have all either left or are on the way out, so we might end up in a similar situation. So I'd love to see some recasts, and then we can have even more classic stories adapted from the comics that have some big characters without worrying about some being left out. Either way, that's how stuff's gonna go. Some rumours, Easter eggs, and the potential direction. Obviously, let me know your thoughts below, as I'd also love to hear your theories on the future. Please drop a like on the video as well, and if you want to support the channel as a member of the Spoiler Side Squad, then please click the join button. Every week, you're gonna get early access to videos, and it goes such a long way to helping us out. Now, if you want something else to watch, we've got a breakdown of X-Men 97 on screen right now, so head over there right after this. Lots of Easter eggs. The MCU's back. I love that show, and yeah, I can't wait for you guys to see what we thought about it. So yeah, please do. Without the way, thank you for clicking this. I've been your host Paul. You've been the best, and I'll see you next time. Take care. Peace.